Welcome to Feagan Finch, the podcast where we discuss everything football related. I'm Alex Finch.
And I'm Ryan Feagan. Let's talk football.
So I thought with football returning this week in the Budesliga, it's only right to do a little feature on the return of the game, return the sport, and what this means for other leagues, how we found it, and just the overall experience. Because I thought it was quite different. I don't know about you, but it was completely different watching a game.
Very surreal sort of viewing experience. It really didn't feel like I was watching a league match, if you know what I mean. It felt like I was watching like a youth league sort of game.
Pre-season friendly.
Yeah, pre-season friendly, pretty much, without the fans.
Yeah, because even the results, when you look at them, like the first game, I was so excited to watch football again. I was thinking, great.
Yeah.
Let's go and watch some football. Dortmund, Schalke. On paper, it seemed like a real good game, a derby.
Big derby, yeah.
Just one-sided completely. Dortmund.
Yeah, Schalke got absolutely dominated.
4-0.
Yeah, Schalke didn't even look like scoring.
And that's why it seemed like a pre-season friendly, because it seemed like as soon as Dortmund got a couple of goals, Schalke gave up, and players weren't properly committed. The rules are a bit weird because you can go fly into tackles, but you can't celebrate with other players. It's
it's all a bit I think it is quite confusing for the players to get their head round as well, to be honest with you, about what they can and can't do.
I guess some football's better than no football, but
yeah,
I'm just thinking, do I really watch pre-season games? I don't watch all of them. It seems like it was a pre-season game. I'd probably rather have some football available, so it probably is best. But it was just a very odd experience, because then yesterday there was it Bayern Union Berlin, and Bayern won 2-0, and again awful game. I guess because it is when you think about it, it is like the first game of the season again, because players haven't played football for 8 weeks almost. So
2 months, yeah, it basically is. They've had their pre-season.
So it literally the first game back, and it's always a bit weird the first game back.
Yeah.
So I guess that might have something to do with it. But I'm trying to think what that experience, if it continues like it is with very lackluster games, because I think some of it is because the fans help with tempo of the game. When fans are cheering, like pushing their team, you're going to go with high tempo.
They make the game. Fans are what it's all about. Like, it is very true when they say football is all about the fans.
It's the pressure the fans put on players.
Yeah, exactly. It's shown this weekend, with the support from the home crowd, results could have gone a different way. A much different way.
Yeah, but when a crowd is there, so when you think of some of the best games in like European Premier League history, it's always been the crowd's there pushing a team to do better. That's why grounds like Anfield, Stamford Bridge, Celtic's ground are so good at Champions League nights, because of the tempo of the game, because the crowd are pushing their team on.
Well, exactly. And you think, this is just a little example, this season, Norwich beat Man City, and I don't believe Norwich would have done it at the Etihad or in their own ground without the fans. Them fans really pushed Norwich on that night, and they was electric, absolutely electric. Finch. Football is nothing without the fans. I still will watch it because I love football, but it's really sad to see the beautiful game played without spectators.
Yeah, I just going back to what I was saying. I just don't know what it means for other leagues coming back, because obviously in the UK, players are resuming training from the 19th of May, so tomorrow, in small groups, and they're ultimately aiming for a June the 12th return date. In Italy, very similar. I think June the 13th. In Spain, they sort of said June the 12th, and players are returning in small groups as well to training. So all those 3 leagues are at a similar sort of stage in terms of them coming back, but it's still going to be played behind closed doors, a similar kind of thing. And I think I don't think the best solution, because obviously you need to finish the season in some ways, but if the football's not the standard,
no, that's the thing. That's the thing, Finch. It's
I do think some football's better than no football.
Oh, without a doubt. I'd rather watch that than be without. But obviously, when you watch football, you want it to be at the best that it can be, and it's just it won't ever be that without the fans. It won't ever be it. It just won't. It's not possible to.
Yeah, and I do think as well, there's two options really. I think to be fair to all the leagues, and this is just my personal opinion. You either got to, if it's not safe, just void the season completely, because if you continue with this, if you try and put the season through a computer-based machine, try and do an average of the games, try and split it in half the season, football's unpredictable. If it played out in reality, it would have been completely different. Depends on your runs, depends on the home form, depends. Football's just completely unpredictable. You can't.
Depends on the day,
you can't have average points. So
no,
I think
exactly. That's the thing.
Upset.
It all depends. It all depends on the day. The strikers of the opposing team could have a really bad night's sleep for whatever reason, just not perform. The underdog just absolutely creams them. You do not know anything that's going to happen in football. That's what makes it so amazing. You just don't know what's going on.
And I think the other option is, if it's safe to return, like it seems to be in Germany, you've got to play out. It's not the best to watch. I think you've still got to play out the season behind closed doors. I think they're the two options: void the season or play out the season behind closed doors. Because I think they're the two fairest ones. Because if you do, in a lot of leagues, it's different with the Premier League, I guess, a little bit, because Liverpool is so far ahead. But in other leagues, if it's close at the top, let's say in Italy, it was quite close at the top. If you do like points, average points per game so far, and say that's the finished table, that's not the reality of football and what it could have been that season. So it's an untrue picture, because players could return from injury in that period, and players didn't form.
Players could get injured.
Yeah. It depends on the running, your fixtures. Like, for example, in League One, Ipswich, they're 10th in the league at the moment. Their fixtures are really favourable over the next 10 games. So they could have gone on a nice run. Who knows? And there's always, in the Championship, in League One, League Two, there's always a team which goes on a mad run from it would have been April to start of May, wins a lot of games and creeps in that top six, and then has a chance at promotion from the playoffs. And doing that average points per game solution, that doesn't open up the reality of football. So that's why I don't think it's fair in a lot of leagues. I know League Two voted the other day for just to have the season ended. Yeah. Although that has another problem. It's got to be consistent with all the leagues. Like, they can't just say we're going to end at the top three teams to go up. Because what happens if League One say, actually no, we're going to end it, but no teams go up or down?
Exactly, no teams go down. So you end up with the next season with 27 teams. Is there 24 teams in League One?
23 because Bury folded.
So if you end up with 26 teams in League One, how's that going to play out for the fixtures?
I think it's just got to be consistent, hasn't it? That's the problem. But I do think, and it depends as well. Another thing to do with the lower leagues in English football is the money involved with testing. It's obviously going to cost a lot to test all the players, and League One, League Two clubs, Championship clubs have a bit more money, but League One, League Two clubs don't really have the money.
Ain't got the funds. For it.
So if they want to continue, I think the Premier League's given some money, but I think they've got to give more money to the lower leagues to let them continue and play behind closed doors. Because it's going to be interesting what happens. And I think that's why I said it needs to be consistent with all the leagues to make sure promotion and relegation aligns with everything. Like, there's a lot of disagreements with lower leagues at the moment, especially like League One the other day. 6 clubs wrote to the EFL saying they'd like to continue. I think it was Sunderland, Ipswich, Fleetwood, Portsmouth, and a couple of other teams. But most of the leagues said they didn't want to continue. So what happens there?
Ipswich wanted to continue. That's an odd one.
I guess they don't want to continue playing because I guess there is a good run in for them. So they thought, they now got all their first team players back from injury.
Yeah.
That's what we said before.
Yeah, they had a little chance at making at playoffs with, because like I say, Ipswich do always end up having a nice little run in the end part of the season.
That's what we're saying there, because football's a game based on so many different factors, so many dependencies, so many different fine margins. It's a game based on fine margins. So you can't just end a season and just say, it's based on average points. It's based on where the season is in March. Because that's just not fair. And also, there's another thing to do with that in terms of home and away advantage. Because some teams would have played more home games than others. Some teams would have played more of the top 6 in their leagues than others. The harder fixtures. Some teams would have played the easier fixtures. So it's just not fair. And whatever way you choose to try and end the season and have it as it is without avoiding it, let's say, it's going to be unfair in some sort of manner. That's why I think you have to sort of finish it. I think the Premier League, out of any league, they have the money to make sure it's safe. So I think the Premier League can continue and should do it behind closed doors. Because I think there's so much money that they can invest in the doctors that.
Oh, there's billions and billions, mate, in the Premier League.
Yeah, and I think ultimately, definitely in the Premier League, the way I see it going, there's so much money dependent on them finishing the season with the broadcast rights. They're going to finish it.
Yeah, they've got to, but where do they go from there once the season's finished? Do they? Because realistically, when you look at it, how many games is there left in the Premier League?
10, maybe
6, 7. Is that that many? Is there that many? 10.
I think
I thought we was past 30 stage.
29. That's how many games have been played. So you have 9 left.
So 9 left. Okay. So if we, I don't think they're going to do it weekly. I don't think they'll be able to do it weekly games. I feel if they want to get the season finished, in a sensible time scale, they're going to need to play at least twice, maybe even 3 times a week, if they want to get get it all done and dusted. So the players have, a sensible another, sort of pre-season, and then maybe we start the season off again, mid-September, rather than dragging it out and, potentially not even starting the season till like November.
Yeah, I think the only way to do it is have all the players confined in, let's say, one big, maybe a few clubs in the individual camps, like one big camp up north or northwest, one big camp down south, one big camp in London. All the players are confined to like one big hotel, for example, and they get tested every day, and they're not allowed out to get anything. No one's allowed out, no one's allowed in, so the virus can't spread. And then if they're in that environment, then they could play a couple of games a week at least. Yeah. And also, I think one thing we'll see is if games are, because I think if they do play at the start on June the 12th, they've got to finish the games pretty quick, like we said. So if there's 9 games left, let's say, per team, it's at least 2 a week, let's say. And I think what will happen is there'll be a lot more rotation with players. And I think a lot of the reserve players,
mate, there has to be a lot more rotation. Otherwise, where the players haven't been training probably as much as they should have been, you're looking at potentially a lot of injuries. Especially with the pace of the Premier League, it's much different to the Budesliga. And you saw in the Bundesliga today, even in today's fixtures and Sundays and Saturdays, that teams don't really look up to the standard that they really should be. So it's really like a lot of lack of match fitness going on, and with the amount of games left in Premier League, you're just you're open to a lot of potential injuries.
Yeah, I do think as well. It's just that element of the fans not being. I think I'm trying to think of a way to try and like negate it, almost not replicate it, just have something which increases the tempo of the game. Like you see the other sports, like which are reliant on fans, like boxing is completely reliant on the atmosphere of the fans. They get the fighters going to that gladiatorial ring, let's say the O2 Arena, when like Derek Chisora goes into there and he hears the fans shouting his name, he gives it his all. He's not the same fighter with no fans, but what Eddie Hearn's proposed to try and get that jazz back in boxing, like something different to make it that gladiatorial ring where fighters are already up for it, and it almost negates what the fans offer, because obviously you can't bring the fans in, but you've got to put something else in there to get that jazz back in the sport. His put forward a suggestion. I think it's actually working. It's more than suggestion now. It's actually a working proposal where they are going to hold fights at his company's HQ. So that his company have a big HQ, a big mansion where he actually grew up. And it's their offices. It's absolutely massive. It's just outside London. It's overlooking London. So you can see Canary Wharf in the distance. It's got a massive garden. They have a helicopter flight pad in that garden. And they're proposing basically having boxing in the garden with as if it like you'd have it at a football stadium with a big ring in the middle of the garden. You'd have a few seats around it for, let's say, 60 people are allowed maximum. You'd have 4 fights on a night, and they are proposing doing 4 weeks worth, so 4 Saturdays worth of fight nights. So it's something completely different. They have fireworks going off. They have drones going off in the back. Well, not drones going off. Drones going around the around the sky, around the ring. So something completely fireworks going off. You'd have big lights. you'd have music, you'd have just anything you can to try and get a bit of atmosphere and make it a gladiatorial ring. And they're trying to replicate some of the drama in the week. They'll have like a special program that Sky Sports done about the not doping test, but the test to see if someone's positive for COVID. So there's going to be like big results show, are they positive, are they negative?
Yeah.
Build up a bit of drama for that. So it's almost like Jeremy Carr. Is she pregnant? Is she not? Or who's the father? Is he not? It's that kind of thing. It's building up any drama they can, and everyone's going to be in a nearby hotel to the mansion. So there'll be a confined environment. There'll be interviews. We'll do interviews through Zoom like this. There'll be specific zones in the mansion, just outside the mansion, for like media. So only a couple of media allowed. I think it's transformed part of the mansion to changing room. So it's a completely different idea, something completely new. But it's bringing in something different, which almost replaces the fans. So I'm just thinking, what could football do? And I don't know what your thoughts
I mean,
on
with
boxing
football,
as well.
potentially you could have, you could take like old tracks from, old football games at their stadiums and maybe make like a soundboard that someone controls and plays near, a load of speakers and, it echoes around the stadium. I think that could be a possibility, but I'm sure they've probably looked into something like a soundboard to replicate the fan sort of atmosphere. But whether they'll do it or not, I don't really know. I'm not too sure what else you could do. I don't think you could play music around a football game. I just don't think you could do it because it lasts too long. It lasts way too long.
It's not the same kind of atmosphere. That I guess like football chants and boxing chants is a bit different, isn't it? But I still think they can do something. Maybe not have a football game in someone's backyard, like in Eddie Hearn's case. But there needs to be something done, like you said. Maybe some old football songs, put them in the background, high volume.
Yeah, maybe have some like I think I can't remember which German team it was, but I think I saw one German team. Didn't they have like a load of cardboard cutouts put around their stadiums? Something like that, just to give us the illusion that there is actually, there is some sort of atmosphere going around, and you can't just hear the ball being kicked about and the players shouting.
Yeah, maybe like a drummer. I think a drummer, and you'd have a speaker on the drums or something like that, just to get some atmosphere. Because
exactly,
maybe even make it more of an event with fireworks and stuff like that, almost like the NFL do. Just to get something like jazz.
Like a fireworks show at the start, But then again,
that's why
it's more money, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know what your thoughts on that Eddie Hearn's proposal, but I think it'll be quite good, and I think it'll be quite successful.
Yeah, Eddie Hearn, he's very wealthy for a reason. He knows his stuff and how to make money. I think he's onto something big here.
And in years to come, they'll come back and say, "Look what I did! I had these 4 or 5 weeks of championship fights in my back garden. We did it all. I was just sitting in my garden and watching world title fights." I think they're saying Dylan White against Alexander Povetkin, so a high class heavyweight fight will be staged in his back garden, which is incredible. So we pay per view, and they're talking about they're going to lose a lot of money through this as well, because you get no gate money.
Yeah,
but it's something which the sport needs to continue, I guess. So
yeah,
fair play to him.
Yeah, without that, mate, fair play, without a doubt.
But I think we'll have to pick this topic up as the week goes on, because it's going to change. It's not just dependent on the footballing bodies, it's dependent on the government, depending on scientists, it's dependent on so many different things that
there's so many different factors regarding the whole continuation of sport, and it's something that we'll keep you updated on as the weeks go on this sort of coronavirus sport mini podcast every single week we could do.
Yeah, so that's, I think, the mini podcast number 1 about the current state of sport, the current state of football. We explored a bit of boxing, and there's going to be more to come in the following week. So we'll pick this up next week.
Yeah, stay tuned.